Li Schoolland. I'm an independent educator.
Do you feel that America recognizes that China considers itself an imperialist empire still today?
It's the reality, but America and including many Western countries, free democratic countries, they don't recognize that because China is very good at disguising themselves, and that's the true danger.
Is China at war with the United States, you think?
Yes, the war started is more real than the Russian and Ukrainian war. Even though we don't see the tanks, we don't smell the gunpowders, we don't see the bullets, the war is on, it's going.
Not necessarily in what they call it kinetic war or the military war, but in what sense?
Some people call it Cold War, we say Cold War plus hot war. And if we don't realize that and do something about it, it's going to escalate it to a hot war, the real conflicts, for whatever reason, Taiwan or whatever dispute. But the war is on right now.
What sort of things, when you say if we don't do something, what could be done?
For example, openly condemn a lot of aggressiveness of Chinese CCP, not the people, but the government aggressions. And they are setting up Chinese Communist Party's chapters in many U.S.
Cities?
Universities.
And
And they were influencing elections, local and national, federal elections.
with their own candidates?
Candidates or money?
Are the candidates necessarily Chinese?
No.
They're not ethnically Chinese.
Some are not, and then they're paying money. They're influencing the election by money. They bribe the people who are friendly to leaning towards China, and also many of the Chinese students here, especially graduate students, PhD students, they use the resource of America taxpayers' money and learn about the technology, use the facility, the labs, and get their information and technology, and they bring to China and develop nuclear weapons, submarines, and
Biowarfare?
to hurt the rest of the world. So that's something we need to be aware of, and
I asked a question about China influencing this 2020 presidential election, and we're seeing so much more now eavesdropping, not just with TikTok. Are you familiar with TikTok?
Oh yes, I do anything to avoid that. And I was just at the panel at the FreedomFest, and young people told me we can live without TikTok.
They can or can't?
Cannot.
Oh.
And they said 90% of the young people live with TikTok, and they said we knew the Chinese CCP owns it and behind it, but we cannot.
Can't stop.
We can stop. That's a wrong choice.
It's like an addictive drug.
Exactly. That's a poor excuse.
What does TikTok do to a person's phone?
They monitoring you not only what you posted, before you post it, when you're editing.
When you're typing?
Yeah, when you're typing, you're editing before you post it, or even you decided not to post it, they kept all the information. You signed, agree, because most people don't read the fine print. Pages after pages, I agree. And in there, very clearly spelled, everything you touched it's become the property of Chinese government, and they can do whatever they want to do
But it isn't
with it.
Is it only the things that you do on TikTok, or is it the entire phone they take over?
They might use the TikTok if you have the app to get into other apps you use. And TikTok said they don't do anything to censor, but it's not true. The Hong Konger, the film got the Anthem Festival top award, and was released this year, and they got such a huge viewership, and TikTok took it out. And the Acton Institute, who are the producer of the film, protested, and took a while the TikTok to put it back. So that showed us they do take censor, and they do, all kind of things.
I see. Do you think that they also listen to the phone conversations?
If your phone is purchased in China, or your Huawei phone, your Chinese made Xiaomi phone, yes. iPhone, there's two kinds of iPhones. If you purchase in the United States, maybe a little bit better, but the same iPhone, if you purchase in China, definitely. Even the phone is turned off. A lot of time when we're talking to Chinese people, we put the phone turned down, turned off, and put into a far away another room. So we can talk.
Because you think they can eavesdrop?
Not just because we think, it's reality.
It's known.
It's known. All Chinese know. And many Chinese have two phones. One, if they have a privilege to leave, to go outside of China, they buy a phone outside of China, and they use, and for a purpose of, doing Gmail or Instagram, whatever, and Twitter, or then they use the phone they purchase in China for their Chinese businesses.
Do you think China is collaborating somehow with the Democrat Party to bring in? Well, obviously they brought in the vaccine. They brought in the virus. They manufactured drugs, manufactured masks. Do you suppose that they might be working now to bring in a Chinese social credit score?
Yes, in a not very obvious way, but penetrating, because look at the world adopting Chinese way of handling the pandemic, the lockdown, the mask, and also the drugs. The dangerous drugs, the low-quality drugs from Mexico, supposedly from Mexico, they all made in China.
Right. What do you think about the U.S. Manufacturing, or still manufacturing so many drugs, like so many antibiotics that are made in China? Is that risky?
Yes, it is.
You think we should?
They're very low quality.
You think we should bring back that manufacturing?
The Indians are making decent generic medicines. We should open the trade, get rid of the regulations and allow to get the medication from India, not from China.
Because couldn't China poison essentially the drugs that they sell to the U.S.?
Yes, because from the low quality narcotics from China, we already know they're killing people. The drug users are the rate of death by using these illegal drugs increased. That's brought attention to the U.S. Defense Department and the Secret Service, and they traced the source of the drugs. They are from China. Those are private drug makers, but if they are not collaborating with Chinese government and Mexico government, they couldn't do this. So they're all in this to hurt American people.
Do you think that the Democrats would impose regulations that U.S.-owned companies, let's say pharmaceutical companies, should be, if they want to sell in America, that they've got to stop manufacturing in China?
Yes.
Would the Democrats do it?
That I don't know, but they should, because they also need to know who are they collaborating with China. Are they government enterprises? Are they related to the military or, in dangers? The people in our country, they have to know before they invest, before they build a partnership. A lot of them, they don't. They just want the money. It's a good deal or whatever.
Does the Communist Party envision ever invading the United States?
They are already, in many ways, they're invading the Confucius Institute, the TikTok, and the Communist Party chapters in universities, and they're invading in many ways. They already did it.
So it wouldn't take necessarily a military invasion
No.
because they can get so much control.
Yeah, they don't need military, and they get more by non-military actions.
Why do you speak out so about this when you could live here peacefully? And
Because I lived in China for 26 years. I personally lived through the horror of communism during the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, and the Great Leap Forward, the Cultural Revolution, the Great Famine. I'm a survivor. I know the evil. I don't want anybody in the world to experience what I have experienced in my life. And we need to stop that.
people's idea of communism, so too many people are thinking that communism is purely, well, that the government owns the means of manufacturing and it's government business. But what does it mean for the public?
The public said they claim to providing equality, to eliminate the gap between the rich and poor. Okay. But the way of doing it to make everybody equally poor. Yeah, because they take away from the people who create values, and then redistribute, and then the people who were punished for creating values, they stopped creating because they were not allowed or they lost incentive. And then the people, then there's a one-time deal. When you take away from something there and redistribute, and then no more production follow up, so everybody's equally poor and starving and dying.
But do they have a way to monitor and make sure people are not doing things on the gray market or the black market to make more money?
They did. In China, they did. They controlled all the black market, and the trade are illegal. And people have no ways of producing anything to trade with. And there's no private property in the farmland, so nobody could grow anything to sell. And then they don't have money to buy because the salary and the income is determined by the government, just barely enough to not die. It's not full, but you don't die. You starve, but you survive. That's what the minimum the government, the planned economy give to people.
Does the government monitor your bank accounts?
Oh, definitely.
We don't understand about this.
Okay, all the banks owned by China government. And the past, I don't want to talk about, just today. China had a huge issue of overbuilt apartments, homes. And they have a lot of ghost cities. And the Chinese government will screen all the bank accounts. If your savings in your bank account exceeds certain level, the government will knock on your door, say, buy a property. And they say, well, I don't need one, but you have this much money, you have to buy. So because we overbuilt, the government is in trouble, so you have to buy.
What about people's conversations if they're trying to do something that's outside what the government wants them to do?
You disappear.
You disappear?
Yeah, you disappear. Or if you don't disappear, you'll be called to the police department. The lightest is you get invited for tea, we call that, and they threaten you.
The lightest?
Yeah, and they threaten you, tell you to stop. Then, or you'll be detained up to 3 days, 9 days, and 3 weeks, a year, and then your parents or your children will be threatened, and their jobs, their livelihood will be threatened. So you have to think about, if I say this, I do this, and then my parents will lose their job, or children cannot go to school. You stop. They will take away all your money from your bank account too.
They will take money from your bank account?
Yes, definitely.
Entirely?
Entirely.
So this is terrible. We've only seen this in little signs here, like in Canada, but
the truck drivers. Yeah, no, China is extreme. One story: this person went to Hong Kong during the 2019 demonstration. He thought was interesting. He took a couple of pictures and he posted in Chinese social media and WeChat 3 pictures. And when he got home, he was called to the police department and said, "Here, you post these pictures." Okay, his phone was stopped because Chinese cell phone number tied to everything, your bank account, your ID, your everything. And the phone was stopped, and they said, "Okay, we give you a warning. If you ever do this again, and your bank account will be wiped out, and you will lose your jobs. Your child cannot go to school anymore. Your parents will lose everything." And the guy said, "Oh, please, I won't do this again."
When you see censorship on stories that are critical of China, stories on Google, do they get buried, these stories, or demoted?
Yes, they do. They get buried, demoted, and they're not very, just very normal story. It's not even onto the roots or deep enough yet. Yeah.
So why is Google censoring this stuff? If if they have a separate Google for China, what do they care about criticism of stories about how bad China is in America?
Actually, Google took a stand. Many years ago, Chinese government asked them to turn over the information of all their users, and Google said no, so Google is banned in China. But now Google wants to go back to China. So they're compromising here and there.
But there's other censorship in the U.S. of stories that are critical of communism, the CCP, and China, that employees at these companies, it's rumored, they are censoring themselves because it's what the Democrat Party wants them to do. Do you see similarities now in the Democrat Party to the CCP?
I don't think it's just Democrat Party. I think all parties, and because not just the government, like NBA and like Hollywood. They are so afraid of Chinese government. They self-censoring and do whatever the Chinese government want them to do, because they want the box office income and they want NBA's viewership in China. That's their biggest market.
Yeah. So those companies are doing on a commercial level.
Right.
But this idea of censorship, even on Facebook, you see it. In other forms of media, Microsoft, for instance.
Yeah, Microsoft.
Yahoo.
You're right.
It seems that China has. We've never seen an influence like this on behalf of another country.
Yeah.
Is it purely on the corporate level, or are you seeing within
both?
Yeah.
Corporate level, very much, because Trump was going to ban. He banned Confucius Institute. He was going to ban TikTok, and the lobbyists came in. He backed out. I was so disappointed. And he was going to ban TikTok and WeChat. And all the Chinese in outside of China was prepared to find other way to communicate with China because everything else was banned in China. So they said, well, if U.S. banned WeChat and China banned everything else, how can we communicate with our families? And they were worried about that. Then some lobbyists came, special interest group, and Trump backed up. It's very sad.
And the Democrats, does the CCP own the Biden family at this point?
Not entirely, but then the Biden family, I think more so.
Oh, you mean they don't own Washington entirely, but the Bidens certainly?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. We all know that.
Well, you won't see it on the mainstream network.
No, definitely not.
How about Epic TV? And Epic News,
and
Epic Times.
They are anti-communist. They are very effective. They have a lot of money. They're doing a good work. I applaud their work. Yeah.
But?
They're but they are backed by Falun Gong, which, in my opinion, I don't agree with their faith, religion. I don't think it's even a religion, but that's, to me, it's a cult. But they're more away from that and doing a better job of exposing China, and they have a lot of specialists because they have a lot of money. So they're doing a very effective job, and their news is more accurate than CNN.
More
definitely.
Objective.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you encourage more people to read the Epic Times or their website?
So I read it myself.
You do? In English?
In English, yeah. I don't read the Chinese one. Are not as good as the English one. Chinese one have more of their religion or their beliefs in there.
Right.
I read the English ones.
Do you publish anywhere people can follow you?
I don't publish. I still want to go back to China, so I have my Facebook and Twitter.
Okay.
Not Twitter, Twitter and Instagram, and I have interviews with the Kiwis for Liberty and John Stasso and Glenn Beck. I have, you search my name, you can find these things.